Hi guys, welcome into TDN Against the Spread. I don't think that new intro is ever going to get old. It's I just have a good laugh every time I see our faces on a dollar bill. There isn't quite anything more entertaining than that. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Jake Arians, Jamie Eisner, Paige Demacos here. TDN Against the Spread got plenty of action to get into for Week 9. Things that they like, things they don't like. So guys, we have no player props for Thursday Night Football, but we do want to talk about this game in general. You guys see I'm rocking and I'm allergic to Green Bay shirt. I'm sorry, Green Bay. It's the facts. It's a very, I didn't choose this life. It chose me. I can't go to Green Bay. I learned my lesson when my brother was in college there. I had to stay far, far away. But the game is in San Francisco tonight. They're going to be missing a lot of players. And that is why we are not going to get into player props because of COVID-19. So, Jake, strictly football-wise, what do you think is going to happen in this one that is now featuring what they thought would be this big rematch between the NFC Championship game from last year, and there's no Jimmy Garoppolo, no George Kittle because of injury. You're getting Nick Mullins versus Aaron Rodgers still on the other side. So there is some star power, but it's definitely not a full lineup for the Niners.
It's pretty simple. I originally wrote down 28-21 pack. It's now to 7. So I think now that we've got more injury news that Ayuk's not playing, I think the Packers run away with this. I mean, I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams over Nick Mullins and whoever else you can name that's left in San Francisco. No Kittle, no Deebo Samuel, no Ayuk, no left tackle turn away. It's just bad. And the defense is playing over their heads. They still don't have all the guys that are out there. There's no way Aaron Rodgers losing this game. Yes, it's Thursday night. Yes, he's on the road. Yes, he's traveling, but he always plays good in the Bay Area. He's from there. He's got that feeling going on. He loves putting it to the Niners, and they own him from last year. So I don't think there's any way they don't take care of business. If Nick Mullins beats Aaron Rodgers tonight, the Packers have, and they have their flaws. They have some serious issues, even without all the running backs.
Jamie, the official point spread right now is Green Bay -7 against San Francisco. Even with all the injuries and everything, BetOnline and everywhere else is going to have these lines up. Do you envision Green Bay can cover a touchdown spread on the road in a game where last year they got absolutely dismantled this time of the year?
Well, I sure hope so, because look at what Jake just said. If you look at the 49ers roster right now, they're down there QB1, RB1, RB2, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, tight end 1, starting left tackle, best pass rusher, quarterback 1, and that's still not everybody that won't be playing for San Francisco in this game. It is Green Bay, even without any running backs. It's still Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams against the twos of San Francisco. If they don't go in and win this game by a touchdown, there is no excuse. I don't want to hear Thursday night. I don't want to hear about Aaron Jones. I don't want to hear about contact tracing. I don't want to hear any of that. If the Packers can't go in and demolish the San Francisco team by multiple scores, not only is it a problem, but we need to start talking about how the Packers are overall frauds, which started to see that a little bit last week with their defensive issues. They can't beat Nick Mullins and a bunch of backups on both sides of the ball this week. I don't want to hear any excuses coming out of Green Bay.
Yeah, that list that you just named off is pretty much, it feels like it's an entire starting football team. Like there is a lot that is missing on San Francisco's side of the football between injuries and COVID this year. So I can't imagine that Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Bay Area and not take care of business. But listen, Kyle Shanahan might pull out some all-time wizardry, and obviously your girl will be here for it. So we'll check back in on that as we get into our TDN Fantasy podcast on Friday, but we'll see what happens in this Thursday night matchup. It's time now to get into the guys' underdogs of the week. So, Jake, your underdog first. It started off as +2.5, has now moved to +1 for the New York Giants. So you definitely liked it when it was +2.5. You still like it at +1 playing the Washington football team.
It's kind of a toss-up, right? I mean, I've got the Giants winning this game 24-20, so I love the fact that I was getting points. When I first wrote it down, I was getting 3. Then it was 2.5, 1. Even if it goes to a pick 'em, I still think the Giants are better all the way around. Their defense has not been talked about. They've been in every game in the fourth quarter within one score. You saw them play pretty solid Monday night. Yes, I love Washington's defense. I know where Jamie's going to go with this. but I still don't know what they got going on offense to come out of a bye. They're playing solid, and they've been sneaky and flying way under the radar. You know how much I love Ron Rivera. I think it's a really close game. I just think the Giants have some weapons back on offense And even if Danny Dimes turns it over once or twice, he's been proven enough to make enough plays. I think it's a very low-scoring game. Like I said, I got the Giants 24-20. I don't love it, but I'm getting points there. I'm still taking them. I have them winning outright.
Yeah, if you have them 24-20, you got to still, even if it's just +1 at this point. So Jake has the Giants winning, which means if you're going to get a point, you really like that one as an underdog of the week. Jamie, your underdog is the Las Vegas Raiders, and they are right now with the LA Chargers a pick'em. So you liked them when it was they were getting some points originally. Now it's just a pick'em between Vegas and the Chargers. Why do you like the Las Vegas Raiders playing this Chargers team, other than the Chargers like giving away football games?
Well, that most importantly. But I know I'm cheating a little bit this week by taking a pick 'em, but I don't like a lot of the underdogs. Feels like a chalk week to me. So I had to go with the one matchup that was at one point an underdog and is now just a pick 'em. Look, the thing is, I don't trust the Chargers defense. And I think there's been a little bit of overreaction to the Raiders game last week. If you watched the weather in Cleveland for that game, just throw everything out that you saw. There was nothing we could take away in that game. The Raiders were running pretty highly offensively before that. I love Justin Herbert and company, but that defense continues to blow late leads. They had no business losing that game to Denver last week. I think the Raiders are going to put it up on them. I think Josh Jacobs has a big game. I think Derek Carr has a big game. I think this is one of those ones that I was a little surprised that they even opened up as underdogs, because I think this is one where by game time, they might be 1 or 2 point favorites.
Yeah, in my estimation, a little bit better of a football team. And the Chargers just have this weird way of giving away games, right? We talked about it on our podcast. They've been up 17 points in 3 games this year, and they are 0-3 in those football games. The rest of the league, 52-4. It's not great for everybody counting at home that they are finding ways to give away football games. The next topic we get into, guys, is your stayaways. These are lines that you guys have evaluated. You looked at them and you said, absolutely not. No, thank you. I'm not betting on that one. Jake, your pick is the Denver Broncos going on the road to play the Atlanta Falcons, and the Falcons being a 4-point favorite. I envision you're going to start off by telling me that Atlanta doesn't really deserve to be a 4-point favorite against anybody, because this team is not great. And I just don't see them and why this is there. But obviously, tell us why you're staying away from this one.
It's kind of wild. I've seen this narrative all week that the Falcons should be 6-2, 5-3. No, they shouldn't. Their defense is absolutely god-awful. This Denver offense has slowly gotten healthy. Noah Fant coming back makes a big difference. If this was a week ago, I'd have said, no way. I like Atlanta at home. It's fine. They're going to put up points. But I love that comeback that Denver had. I love the way Drew Lock played in the fourth quarter. They've got their guys, Judy, Hamler, Patrick, Noah Fant, Lindsey. They're playing solid, and they always play defense better than necessarily is out. The players that are out there. Vic coaches it up pretty well. Now, Herbert lit them up last week, but they made some plays when they needed to. A.J. Boye came back off of injury. I like this Denver team kind of under the radar. I think Atlanta's going to be fine at home. I think Matt Ryan probably has a solid week. I think this offense does enough, but I have no idea which way this is going to go. And Atlanta's defense is so bad, I have no faith in them at all. So to say that they're going to cover 4, I wrote down 27-23 Falcons, so I'm right on it. But I don't like this at all. This one's hands off for me.
This is a stay away. That fits the mold of what this segment is about, because you just you're sketchy. Both of these football teams, sketchy. Don't want any part of it. No, thank you. We're not betting on teams that we cannot trust, or at least can't trust as much as other teams. This next one, Jamie, I think is even more sketchy. The Baltimore Ravens and the Indianapolis Colts are playing each other. Baltimore going on the road to play Indianapolis after a very tough loss against rival Pittsburgh Steelers. The Colts are a team that I still don't know what they are. They keep winning games, and I still don't know what they are. They don't really have an identity. They aren't running the football in the way that we thought. T.Y. Hilton's been non-existent, which is the best pass-catching option for them. Is the defense for real? There's a lot of question marks here. So all that being said, Baltimore's coming off a tough loss. You are not feeling that they can go into Indianapolis and take care of business.
I just don't know. And that's what this game is. Baltimore's really banged up right now. Marlon Humphrey's not going to play in this game. We thought he's going to be on the COVID list. They've had to reshuffle their offensive line a little bit. They've moved Orlando Brown over to left tackle. They're playing a second-year UDFA at one of the guard spots. They're playing DJ Fluker now at right tackle. So they've had to completely reshuffle that offensive line over the last couple of weeks. Mark Ingram's not going to play. They're going up against a really, really strong run defense in Indianapolis that just got Darius Leonard back, who was a monster in his return last week. But on the other side, Jonathan Taylor's been banged up a little bit and wasn't used very much last week. T.Y. Hilton may or may not play in this game. I don't know what Phillip Rivers I'm going to get on a weekly basis, particularly when he's pressured heavily, which I think he will be in this game. This is just one of those ones to me where I could see this going either way. I don't want to touch this. I'm going to sit back and enjoy this. This is going to be a very interesting football game, but I don't want to have any equity in this game at all.
Yeah, I think both football teams, as I described the other teams as sketchy, these two, there's a lot of question marks around Baltimore. There's a lot of question marks around Indianapolis, and that leads to no thank you, time to stay away from that football game. Our next segment, team totals, looking at over under. Jake, you like 2, right? There's 2 games you like here, and you like the over. You like Carolina going on the road to play the Kansas City Chiefs, the over on 52.5. Why are you taking the over, Jake?
I think Kansas City's going to put up – they've averaged 32 points a game every game Patrick Mahomes has played at quarterback. They're going to give up something on defense. I got them down 34-24. I think they win this game, or 34-23. I think they get there, but Carolina's moved it on everybody. They had a little bit of an anomaly in the rain against Atlanta last week, and I think that's probably why this is a little bit of a question mark. If McCaffrey comes back or doesn't, Mike Davis has been solid. He's been down a little bit the last couple of weeks, but they've moved it on everybody. This Kansas City defense hasn't proven to be great. They've given up a bunch of big plays, which I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to take some shots because they didn't do any of that a week ago. But they don't have to be great. This is a lot like the game we loved last week with Denver and the Chargers. As long as Denver can put some points on the board and they end up putting 31 and winning last week, I think this hits. I like this one. And it's a little bit of the Chiefs are so good. I don't think it's not getting a lot of love in this one. The second one is the game Jamie just said. I love the Raiders in this game. I think this is an absolute shootout. To be 51.5, I think this one hits easy. I've got the Raiders winning this game, but at like 31-27. I think this is way over 51.5.
Well, you guys liked a Chargers team last week to take an over, and it was a little scary for a little while, but eventually they got there. Never lose faith in the over. I was really looking forward to trolling you guys because there were many screenshots of very little points happening throughout quarter one.
You could have trolled us for a
two.
lot of stuff last week, the way that went, but that was not one of those games. That was one that was it was ugly early, but they covered by a large margin.
Yeah, they ended up covering and taking care of business, so liking the over there. Jamie, you like Houston and Jacksonville over 50.5. Why are you liking this one?
I'm actually liking the under in this game, Paige.
Okay.
And that's because how much faith do you really have in Jake Luton to put up points in this game?
Tons.
I know Houston hasn't been very good, but this Jacksonville team couldn't put up many points against Houston when they had Gardner Minshew. And Luton's a pretty low how to properly describe him is risk averse, let's say. Not a game manager type because I don't think he deserves that role, but risk averse. He's not going to make a ton of mistakes, but he's not going to push the ball down the field a lot on you. And to me, I think Houston can even if they get around that 30-point mark that they were last time against Jacksonville, all Jacksonville has to do is stay under 3 touchdowns. I don't see it happening. This was a 44-point game between these two teams a few weeks ago. I think we're in the 40s again this week. But one thing I do want to bring up, because the line changed, so it wasn't an over that I had on here, but if it drops back down, I liked it a little bit. And that was the game Jake talked about earlier, was the Giants and Washington. When it was down at 41, I really liked that. Because I'm with Jake. I think that's a 24-20 game in either direction, but it's all the way up to 43 now. But if that drops back down by the time you're making your wagers on Sunday, I would take the over if it falls back down to that 41.5 range.
Yeah, currently 43 at betonline.ag. So take a look at that one. Be sure to pay attention and see if you can lock that in as one of the maybe additional locks as we revisit this later on in the weekend. It's time to talk locks of the week, guys. Jake, you have 2 locks. You like the Seahawks this week going on the road to play the Buffalo Bills. They are a 3-point favorite in that game. And then the Ravens in a pick'em, which I'm very interested to hear you go through that, as that was one of Jamie's stayaways. So why don't you start first with the Seahawks -3 and why you think they're going to take care of business against Buffalo?
Yeah, so the Seahawks are really my lock. I'm swinging for the fences a little bit on the Ravens. I'll talk about that in a second. Look, the Seahawks are 10-0. They are riding a 10-game win streak in the Eastern time zone, getting back Jamal Adams. adding King Dunlap, who's going to – I don't know how big of an impact he's going to make, but at least on passing downs, it's another guy to chase Josh Allen. I think Jamal Adams makes a big difference. I love the way they used Bobby Wagner a week ago. They blitzed him a ton. They usually don't do that. Russell Wilson's just playing too good. And this Buffalo team, well, they're 6-2. They lost 2 straight. They played a really ugly game against the Jets. They played a really ugly game against the Patriots. And, yes, it was bad weather and all that stuff, but they have been 4 weeks now of not playing very good football. Russell Wilson's playing way too good. That defense is porous. They are giving up a ton on the run. Russell Wilson, and you give him in your 3 points. It was 2.5 when I first wrote it down. I like it just as much at 3. The Ravens, I'm just banking off of them getting hit in the mouth. Like, yes, they're beat up. I don't know what this Colts team is. They're really good in their front seven against the run. They have been for years. Darius Leonard back makes a big difference. I'm banking on Phillip Rivers being a statue with no one to throw it to, and the Ravens blitz more than anybody. This offensive line we've talked about has not been as good all year as we were expecting. They have not been the best offensive line in football by a long stretch. Phillip Rivers is getting more time than he had a year ago, but it's not by much. I think the Ravens have enough to get it done. I think Lamar Jackson coming off of a loss, embarrassment, the questions are back. Can he win the big game? Is he the guy? Is he regressed? All that kind of stuff. I think he answers a lot of that this week. Like I said, I'm swinging for the fences a little bit, but I liked them when they had to cover some points. I love it as a pick 'em. I think they win this game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that one because there's a lot of potential headlines that could come out of that game, especially if the Baltimore Ravens lose that one. So I think there's a lot of pressure on them to get things done with all the Super Bowl aspirations. This is going to be one that they're going to have to take care of after a Pittsburgh Steelers loss. Jamie, your lock of the week, you like the guys that I was just talking about, those pesky Steelers that took care of the Baltimore Ravens. They are now a 14-point. It was 13.5, is now a 14-point favorite against the Dallas Cowboys. A high school football team might take care of Dallas at this point. It is very, very bad for the Cowboys and where they are in totality. So you just think the Steelers are just going to put it on them on the road. Doesn't matter that it's a 2-touchdown spread.
So I'm going to check my notes here. And I'm going to scroll about 18 pages till I find the quarterback that the Dallas Cowboys are going to start. And it's Garrett Gilbert or Cooper Rush. Yeah, I'm fine with the Steelers minus 14. Look, I know this is a classic letdown spot. I understand you just beat a big divisional rival to go undefeated last week. You're now going on the road. But it's this Dallas offense who's averaging, again, checks notes, 7.33 points per game since Dak Prescott went down. 7.33 points per game. Yikes. Against the Steelers team that ranks in the top 5 in points allowed, ranks in the top 5 in points scored. I just can't see Dallas keeping up in this game. I don't see this is going to be a letdown spot like it would be traditionally. I just don't know how, even if the Steelers make some mistakes in the first half of this game, I don't think Dallas can capitalize on it. So to me, the fact that this is under a 3-score game, I love it still. And my other one, which there's no line right now because there's some uncertainty about whether Matthew Stafford can play or not based on the COVID-19 protocols and all of that. But I like the Vikings minus 4. This is a weird matchup. Remember, I came back to you several weeks back with Trubisky versus the Lions. Let's talk about Kirk Cousins versus the Lions. 4-0 during his time in Minnesota. In his last 3 games, he's thrown 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. And on top of all of that, Kenny Galladay is not going to play. And this Lions offense has scored almost 5 fewer points per game without Kenny Galladay in the lineup. So if Stafford gets cleared and is back in this game and it goes right around that 4-point spread that it was before the line got taken down, I love the Vikings. And if it's somebody else starting for them, whether I'm trying to see who it is, Chase Daniel. Oh, your old friend, Chase Daniel. If it's Chase Daniel starting for them and this line is only like 7.5, I still might lock that in. So this one you might not be able to do anything with until Sunday morning, but keep a very close eye on it.
Jamie, you brought up the fact that Kirk Cousins is 4-0 against the Lions. Checks notes. Yep, the Lions are below 500, and he plays well against teams that are below 500. That record against teams that are above 500 is not very good, but Kirk usually takes care of business against bad football teams. So, yeah, I think the handy-dandy notebook is coming in very crucial today, Jamie, because I do think even though I like to dunk on the Vikings, there is opportunity for Kirk to beat teams that are below 500, as I said. All right, guys, 2-minute warning. Your last opportunity to get some thoughts in here before we end the show. Jamie, you're getting an opportunity first, so you got 1 minute. Go ahead.
I just want to talk about how the NFL playoff picture is shaping up here halfway through the season. I think we're really on pace to have one of the most exciting postseasons in a while. And we think back to last year, and it was, New England and Kansas City and Baltimore on the AFC side, or San Francisco and Green Bay or New Orleans on the NFC side. I just think there are a lot of teams this year that are good and not a lot of great teams. We are seeing really good teams at the top of their conference, top of their division, struggling in some of these matchups with lesser competition. And I think once we get into this postseason run, especially with only one bye team, at least one extra playoff team, if not two, depending on how the rest of the season shakes out and some of these new rules that are being proposed, this could be the most wide open Super Bowl race in a long time. There are favorites, there are teams you like here and there, but I can't confidently say at any point this year that I would put money right now on a Super Bowl future. I have no read. I think there's a good handful of teams that could win the Super Bowl this year, and that's really exciting.
All right, Jake, you got a minute. Go ahead.
Jamie, I love that. I agree 100%. Depending on where the seeds, I think the seeds may play more of a factor than ever before in this playoffs. I agree with you 100%. I'm going to pat us on the back and then dunk on ourselves for a second. So we were rolling through weeks 1 through 7, hitting a 57, I think 58.5% for Jamie. We were 2 games apart. And then week 8 happened. And I went 5-9 and 0-2 on my locks in games that I really liked. It was a full-fledged frying pan to the face for the first time in a long time to have that bad of a week. Now, we're still doing pretty good. I think we bounced back this week. I agree with Jamie. A lot of chalk this week, not a lot of underdogs. There was probably a handful of stayaways we could have picked for that category. So swinging for the fences a little bit, trying to get back up in my locks of the year so far, 8-7-1. The 0-2 last week hurt a little bit, but I think we bounced back. But I had to dunk on us a little bit because it's been going so good that we don't mind saying when we're wrong.
Listen, I'm glad you did the dunking and it wasn't me. So I'm glad you guys came out and took care of yourselves on your own and didn't have to let me dunk on you guys. But I think overall, still very happy with where all the picks are for the year and the locks as we move forward. I think I saw a lot of people that had struggle last week. So I think this week will give everybody an opportunity to bounce back. And there's quite a few games that the guys like with 4 locks that they delivered today. So keep an eye on both of their social media accounts as things change from now until kickoff on Sunday for some of these games to make sure you're staying up to date on what they think and what they're locking in. Jake, be sure to tell everybody how they can follow you, not only on Twitter, but I want them to follow you on the gram. So be sure to shout yourself out.
Yeah, the new Arians NFL Instagram account and Jake B. Arians on Twitter.
And Jamie, how can everybody follow you?
Follow me at Jamie Eisner on Twitter for fantasy. And then Sunday morning, you'll see what big lines have changed and player props for the Sunday slate of games. So follow us, follow TDN Fantasy, and you'll get all that information heading into Sunday. And let's make some money this week.
Yeah, let's make some money is right. Thanks to everybody for putting the show together. TDN Against the Spread. Be sure to check out thedraftnetwork.com. Paige DeMarcos, Jake Arians, Jamie Eisner. Enjoy Thursday Night Football.